Welcome in, Phil Gregory. Great to have you in on the Owner One podcast.
Thank you, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you for your interest in the company and for your invitation.
Before you started eWater, what did Phil Gregory do, and then how did you end up wanting to start this disruptive Australian business?
Oh, it goes back to when I was a very young man. Depends on how early you want to go. But I came out of secondary school a little unclear about what I was going to do, like a lot of people are. Unfortunately, I didn't go into a university degree that was going to take me down a dead-end street where I didn't want to be by the time I got to 40. So it gave me some years to work out what was going to resonate for me.
Yeah, that's good.
And in that time, it included some pretty wacky things. Like one of the first jobs I had was spot welding Tirana motor cars and Kingswoods at General Motors in Dandenong. And then I went
on the line.
On the assembly line. I got to see what assembly line was like, and a very multicultural one at that. When you could speak to people, which was rarely because it was a very noisy place. I then went on the road up to Sydney and got a job with what was the PMG, it was now Telstra, installing phone systems in the kind of guts of Sydney near Circular Quay. And anyway, I drifted into other positions until I took a job with a company working in outdoor advertising, which put me into advertising agency orbit. And all of a sudden my eyes shot open and I thought, gee, there's people here that are earning obviously good money and having a wow of a time. So I thought that might be a good thing for me. And I ended up in advertising agencies for the bulk of my conventional working career. About 25 years in different agencies. The last 10 years I was at Australia's largest, which is Clemenger, now known as Clemenger BBDO, where I was working as a board director for Clemenger Melbourne and for a group of companies in the Mark Holmes area.
Yep.
I left and had a period of 3 or 4 years where I was doing a variety of things, all interesting. I worked for a not-for-profit for a period of time, working with young people. Jimmy Steins, who's an ex-AFL footballer, well known, was his organisation. Then I went into making films, documentary. That took me to a point where there was a feature film, there's a documentary that was sold around the world based on Jesse Martin's solo sailing trip. I then had a beer with a friend of mine at Kilkenny, or two, an Irish pub. He's talking about having come back from a colleague who's coming back from a hospitality industry convention in Asia, where he'd seen this product called electrolyzed water, which he described to me as salt water and electricity that makes things that replace chemicals. And I thought, okay, that's interesting, sort of ish. I'll have another beer.
A stout to be specific.
There's a Kilkenny, that's right. And very nice it was too. Still is. And I largely ignored it until he reminded me again, and I went online. It was in the kind of mid-2000s where the dial-up internet was still the go. So I was researching on this dung type internet, which was very slow.
Yeah, yes.
But I researched it out and found that there was real validity to this product, and it worked for me because as an inciting incident goes, I was regularly running or bike riding along Gardeners Creek in Melbourne in Victoria, and with any particular downpour of rain, stuff would wash down into the creek, and that'd be what I call the bubbly creek syndrome, where any corners of that creek would gather plastic and waste, and there'd be froth and bubble, and I'd just despair that would happen. And at the same time, young family, chemicals around the place, and looking for alternatives, trying to keep those chemicals well away from children, both in terms of being able to reach them and touch them, but also away from their environment. So this product made sense to me when I realised particularly that it was very similar to the technology used in saltwater swimming pools. So it made sense to me at that moment, whereas prior to that it was a chemistry issue and a whole bunch of stuff that was not in my wheelhouse. But so we did have a saltwater pool, and I thought, yeah, I get that, and I'm really happy we've got a saltwater pool because there's no liquid chlorine laying around the place,
Yeah.
etc.
Okay. Yeah.
So that started the ball rolling up, and then it was a matter of finding a company who manufactured this product to the best standard we could, and see if we could negotiate a distribution agreement.
Wow. So interesting pathway to that point, which was the birth of eWater systems that we know now. I love that you went tap welding to Marcoms to to telcos, and that freedom, that exploration really is a good grounding, I think, for entrepreneurs. You use the guardrails to figure out what you do and don't like. So it was fun to hear that, Phil. And then a moment over a couple of Kilkennys, something dropped that was, and you went off. You took it further. You started to explore this. I guess you call it a technology. So just to roll forward a bit, and we'll come back. But eWater today, what in a couple of sentences, what does it do? And then we'll unpack how you built the business.
Okay. eWater uses three solutions. If you're talking technically, what does it do? It uses three very ordinary everyday solutions in salt, water, and electricity to produce solutions that replace chemicals that are used in cleaning and sanitising.
Yeah.
And we do that with on-site generators, which completely changes the supply chain and a whole lot of dynamics to do with waste and environment as a consequence.
Yeah, and I think, is your tagline "the future of clean"? Is that, did I read that right?
Yes, you
Yeah,
have read that,
yeah,
correct.
yeah. So, and this there was a moment, you saw the Richmond, the Yarra River, whatever it was, overflowing, the bubbling river. Um, so, what was your personal mission at that point? Like, you saw some technology. Did you feel like we were being overrun? Big corporations dumping chemicals. What was the personal
Yeah.
thing that really triggered it for you?
Well, wasn't just that incidents with running around seeing a creek. There were lots of creeks and rivers, and I'd been specifically to an island off Thailand that I went to 10 years apart. And the first 10 years was absolutely pristine. The second journey there was, I was getting plastic bags wrapped around my legs when I was swimming, and I was just
Yeah,
distraught.
yeah,
Paradise sort of lost in plastic. And I started thinking, people put up arguments about, climate change, or they were, especially then. It's a little less that way now, depending on what country you live in, but or what state of mind you have. But you can't argue with plastic pollution. It's just not arguable when you look at a beach and see photographs, and we've all done it, or we've got plastic around our legs. That
yeah,
weren't there
yeah,
30 years ago. So that fires me up to believe there's got to be a change. When does that stop? At what point in time is there enough plastic in the ocean? Enough plastic in the ocean? Enough shots of turtles and fish and yada 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 yada. It's just
yeah,
something has to give, and it takes
yeah,
people to create an action and a movement.
yeah. It's incredible that you personally took that on. There's some incredible entrepreneurs around, and that say enough is enough, and I greatly admire that tenacity to actually do something about it. I think your background, uh, being doing a whole different range of things, probably lends itself to that. You're not afraid of or unafraid of trying new things, but also when you get that bee in your bonnet. You want to do something. It's fantastic. With
Hmm.
eWater today, who are your like key clients and you on site? Just talk about your key clients and what you do for them and the kinds of clients, how they think about this same issue.
Yeah, in terms of segments rather than individual clients, you mean?
Yeah, just broadly speaking, I know
Yeah.
you do work in hospitality as an example, as one, one segment.
Yes, in hospitality, yeah, we do, and we're a business that distributes into New Zealand, the Pacific Islands, and currently, and Australia. In hospitality, we've got restaurants all around the country. They tend to be have in common an ownership where there is a commitment to best practice. Well, let's say not best practice, but more farm to plate or the quality of ingredients and the preparation of those ingredients and the caring for their staff are fundamental, more fundamental than other businesses that may be in the same sector. And the characteristics tend to be people who shop farm to plate or local or highest quality ingredients and that sort of thing, who do not want chemicals near the food they're producing. In hospitality, but also we're in sectors we're just rolling out, just finished a rollout in New South Wales to 160 hospital kitchens. Hospitals around the country have been a key market for us. And we've just taken a repeat order for a system that's nearing its whole of life after 14 years at Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne. So that's a ringing endorsement of something that's working.
Sure
Uh,
is.
and likewise, we've just done the same thing with Sydney Convention Centre, which is probably the busiest kitchen in Australia. So that's convention centres, but it's generally speaking government infrastructure and projects, aged care, childcare, defence bases. Predominantly, we have been in kitchens and related to food, but that's changing now where we're much more a larger part of our time and our business. The business we're writing is coming from more environmental services, facility cleaning and sanitising. And really, it's a sometimes it's a challenge just to be focused because there's germs everywhere, and a sanitising product or a cleaning product has got applications that don't stop. They're everywhere. There's lots that we can work from.
Yeah.
Um, it's important that we respect the clients we've got, and I'll come back to that somewhere in this conversation, I'm sure. Yeah, so
So yeah, that I mean, it's a marvelous to hear that. And can you talk about how the very early days you were committed, you saw how you could apply this tech. What you went and sourced the technology, and then you started. Did you start in the business on your own full time? How just a little bit of an insight to the early days, the garage days.
yeah. Well, I had an original business partner who knew uh, things about the kitchen equipment business I had no idea about, and generally knew more about what we were going to get ourselves into because he'd worked in that sort of around that industry and a smart guy. And so we knew that uh, there was a company in Japan who were highly regarded as manufacturers of lots of products, including the electrolyzed water products under their brand name. We approached those people, and after a series of discussions and negotiations around an agreement, we signed an exclusive distribution agreement to distribute their products. And that was a big deal, actually, even signing that, because what I knew was we're getting ourselves into something that was going to require a hell of a lot of effort to get started. It actually required a lot more than I thought, and I thought it was a hell of a lot.
And was that them saying, if you're going to be our exclusive distributor, you need to step up, or you need to do all these things, because it's not worth us giving that to you exclusively unless you do X, Y,
Yeah,
Z.
partly that. Yeah, we got hurdles. Like if we're going to give you a exclusive agreement, then you need to satisfy a hurdle rate of sales to warrant that. You need to represent the product. You need to market the product. Show that you're committed to success and to putting throughput out of our factories. Sell
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Um, the other side of that, which is like back here, it's was way more difficult to get started than I imagined. We had our first site that was specified by a kitchen architect who become major sort of point referrers for us and sources of business and advocates, and we love them for their loyalty and their commitment. But it was one of those guys that started that, the very first site. But the very first site was, okay, now we've got to plumb it. Now we've got to understand what hydraulics is, and we've got to understand what engineering is and plumbing contractors do, and how does this flow rate meet that pump requirement and all. And then it gets engineered in, and okay, it looks like it's going to work. That's good. And then it's a new kitchen in a hospital, and then people come in to make food and run the kitchen. I go, what's that? We've never seen that before. Is that, does that meet the regulatory approvals? Is that
yeah.
going to kill bacteria like the chemical does?
Like the colourful plastic bottles of stuff with the spray pump head.
Exactly. Is it going
Yeah,
to do that job? So that was a major moment in our, in learning, of course, but also in terms of just arriving at a point where that research was done. And I can remember the quote on behalf of the Victorian government, by the way. The quote said that eWater performs as well, if not better, than the existing chemical routine. And the chemical routine is that, in that instance, is the largest commercial chemical company in the world. That we were able to, or the research, not ours, the research done by the site suggested it was good as, if not better. So, I think that was a pivotal moment where we thought, right, we can have a go at this. And that puts us up against these, monolithic
yeah. The
chemical.
multinationals, it's validation of what you were doing, but was there a little bit of also what have we got ourselves in for at that time? Given you're nipping at the heels of these
Yeah,
monolithic global organisations.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, it was to be expected. I mean, competition, we were out there trying to educate people that they don't need to buy those things to do the job. And they can do that job in a way that's safer and more sustainable and more economical, actually, in the long term. So you'd expect people to react. So no,
Yeah,
there was no surprise in that. Um, but they're pretty well funded. And they've got massive lobbying kind of behind the scenes stuff that goes on, and all sorts of price deals for big contracts and whatever.
yeah,
But that's the nature of
yeah,
commercial enterprise.
yeah. Well, you're disrupting long held relationships, massive manufacturing supply chain. So they don't. Yeah, it's rivers of cash that
Yeah.
you're up against. So what that's it's an incredible thing to. So at this stage it was just really you and your business partner. I'm interested in the stages you went through over those next few years of adding employees,
Oh, yeah.
getting funding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting to reflect back on it, which I'm doing right now. As you asked that, I'll make that point. So my business partner went separate ways. We were a Victorian-based business with one site, let's say, to start with, and that equipment, for example, requires the operators to be trained. on the use of the product, and operators don't just stay in place and become the one operator for the life of a product. I mean, people come and people go, and new training's required,
Yep. Yep.
and all of that, and service, which is I've come to learn from people in similar situations to me, is that it can be a real killer for a business like ours, where service and the understanding of the technology, when you open up the box and look inside it, it's not my sort of world, more of a marketing based background, and so technical skills are required, and you learn to do basic sort of things. But we were for many, maybe 6-7 years, maybe more, struggling as we went into other states. And we've expanded to get a service contract in place, or a sizable enough business, a scale of business that was enough to warrant the attention of a service contractor. Otherwise, they go, no, you don't have enough sites. Why do we bother? All that kind of stuff. So to get to the point where you were of sufficient scale was tough.
Yeah.
And then, likewise with training, the minute the first site started, I was doing service stuff and training, so I was doing less sales. So the sales sort of went down. The more you succeed, the less you're working on your success, in a way.
Yeah. It's a cyclical challenge for everybody, isn't it? To win a client, deliver the goods or the service, and make sure there's something else coming to follow that.
Yeah, definitely.
So there's, I guess we call that, the stages of growth. At the beginning, because the vision you had for the business, was that well formed, or was it a fluid thing? Because we're already here at this stage talking about 6-7 years in, and you're trading off things. Right? You could have been earning money doing other things, having other businesses, and So what was the vision that you had that sustained you to today, even though it might be in a slightly different form?
Yeah, very good question. If I'm to be critical, which I am, reflecting back, I think at the early stage I would have been better off to work out what, and my advice would also be to work out what you want the business to be when you're exiting, or what's your exit strategy. Start with your exit strategy.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
Like, are you building a business for a purpose to get to this, and then this is how you release the value in that business, but you work toward it the whole way through. And I don't think I was doing that sufficiently well enough, or with enough rigor in the early days. I was just trying to grow, but grow what? Where the value drivers for the business, etc. So I've learned a lot in the process of since the business was established, and that's one big thing, to start with the exit in mind.
Yeah.
And I've since talked to other people in similar situations who some of those wise men and women been onto that. And I read a book actually called Finish Big that I found very interesting, an American book that speaks to that very point.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but I'm not sure that's answering your question.
No. Well, I mean, it's that's probably reflecting back, and I don't think there's enough owners that it's all terribly exciting and all consuming when you get started, and for years in, to the number of individuals that I've come across that have had a very clear exit plan 10 years out or 15 years out is tiny. But yeah, I think it's the advice stands. If you can have a view of where you're going to take this thing and how, it does sustain you, because you need a lot of energy and you need capital, and you need people to buy in. So that's an excellent reflection, and we might talk some more about that a bit later. But so I'm assuming at this point you're a believer in what you're doing. You're out there talking to potential customers. You're saying can make your workplace safer. Make the food is truly paddock to plate,
Yeah.
or whatever. And so that does give you a lot of
Yeah.
energy, a lot of fuel. But as you say, it can be. How much of that have we all got? I
Yeah.
mean, when do you say that's enough? I mean, probably never. But
No, I think you have to come to something like this with a fair reserve of energy, and probably a little more than a little passion for what you're doing.
yeah,
Um, to just, it's never really worried me. Get up, go off, and do it. It's just the things that I reflect on are wondering how I could have been a bit smarter about it, or got that result quicker, or got a pass through an approvals process in a more orderly fashion, or whatever it might be.
mm,
But I think that's healthy, and I'd say along the path as well, what happened in learning was listening to the marketplace. That was always has been interesting if you sort of listen to what people's point of view is and watch their behaviour as they interact with products and all that.
yeah,
So that started forming in my mind a concept of what the ideal product would be in this market. We were distributing another product, and we were limited in our distribution agreement to Australia, New Zealand, Pacific Islands, as I said before. And the manufacturer wasn't entertaining expanding into other territories either, for what their own reasons, mostly to do with focus on other products in their range. So the idea of what does a really good product look like took me off on a journey that ultimately led to major project with RMIT University in chemical engineering and industrial design, with a view to looking at developing a brief for industrial designer to make a product that I felt had the features and benefits that were really of today for the global markets, the markets where we weren't able to compete because we didn't have the product.
Oh, okay. So this is the product you're using is working. It's limited to Australia because that's your agreement. We are still tackling a global problem, and why not? Why wouldn't restaurants in San Francisco or wherever, South Africa, China, have the same kinds of issues, and hospitals and
Absolutely, and we knew that it was one of the impetuses for us was, strong impetus was the number of inquiries we were starting to get from overseas markets, from around the world, whether it be the
yeah,
UK or Africa or South America or the Pacific Islands or Asia, America, Canada.
this is really, at the beginning we're talking about a small Australian company using licensed tech to solve a global problem. And here, right now, it's extraordinary that it's the interest is coming from far-flung places like that.
Yeah. And
So good.
it's quite extraordinary in some ways. It's an encouragement. It's another one of those things that drives you forward.
Another lot of encouragement. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And it's that inquiry is almost as often from people wanting to distribute the product as it is from people wanting to use the product.
yeah, okay.
And then it can be people wanting to use the product in commercial situations, but also domestic situations. So it just points to the opportunities being massive.
Yeah. So, and I did distract you there. So this we'll call it a proprietary technology that is you developed in concert with RMIT
Yeah.
as both responding to the market, but was that a little bit of a defensive play to secure the rights to your own tech, or was it
Yeah,
just about?
definitely. Well, to be able to compete with a product with our knowledge, because our basic knowledge is, let's say, with this particular product, is around electrolyzed water and what it's able to do in terms of as a sanitizer or a disinfectant, and its scientific capability, and the technology of electrolysis we understand. So we wanted to put that knowledge to, which has been around a long time, by the way, that
Mm.
nature, the characteristics of the product, put it into a contemporary environment, which is what RMIT helped to do, as in their expertise around engineering and chemistry and design. So really what ended up happening was they were building a brief that we could then take to an industrial design company to work up some more serious proof of concept type activity and a model. We're also working with Monash Uni, concurrent to that, in their chemistry department, with, in particular, the head of their chemistry department is a guy called Professor Doug McFarlane, who is a big supporter and was doing a considerable amount to encourage us to work further into the development of other products associated with electrolyzed water. So we had this R&D, and still do have this R&D sort of capability, or a vision is probably more, and we've progressed somewhere down the path. But what happened in order to go from the RMIT side of things, where we've assisted with a government grant, we then raised capital via a group of shareholders to help to fund our growth. Another story about our organic growth in the eWater business, and also helped to fund the first stage of development of this product concept that had been the output from RMIT.
So yeah, it's sounding complex at this stage. Not you've got a fledgling business. I don't know what in terms of turnover, but you're selling, you're developing a new product, you're responding to international opportunities, trying to diversify your IP or tech base. So raising capital is very necessary. With that, did you have at this stage? Did you have something like an advisory board, or you mentioned the professor, but did you have a formal advisory board or board structure to help you? Because this is you're the entrepreneur, and there's a lot going on at this stage.
Yeah, there is, perhaps not as complex as it may sound in a few sentences, but to answer the question about the advisory board, yes, we did. Whether the degree to which that's formal or not was much more of a kind of loose arrangement, but a regular meeting of a group of 7 or 8 people.
Yep.
Each with different skill sets: entrepreneur, legal, finance, HR. Good people, and they help provide guidance, still do, through as required, and we the capital side of things came through the development of the product concept, or the idea with the product concept, in concert with the fact that we had just picked up a major piece of business that made it attractive to people who bought convertible notes, who are in the business of getting a high return for the lowest risk they can, essentially.
Yeah.
And that was Coles. So we had this situation occurring, a bit of folklore here, where Coles had been through a whole bunch of trials and decided that they were going to roll out eWater into all their stores. And that started with a number of test sites in Victoria, but then went to every store in South Australia and Northern Territory, which was very appealing because that was on the road to 900 stores or something like that. and that made the raising of capital relatively easier than it might have been.
Yeah.
Then Coles promptly announced they were demerging from Wesfarmers at the time, and there was a whole spill of people in executive positions. And before we knew it, there were new people coming in saying we don't want to do that and stop the
They were
cable.
watering it down.
They just went back into the chemical land,
Yeah.
um, uh, and so that made things interesting because we no longer had the incoming sort of growth from Coles, but we had the convertible note debt.
And you had these prospective shareholders all all in on this, and that's venture investing for you. But
Yeah.
at this, so how many years are we into the journey at this stage? Is this
At the stage that I'm
yeah
referring, 11 or 12.
11? So you're in it boots and all, personally,
Yes.
and we talked about the the support of an advisory board and technical people and staff, but as the founder, you were you were a co-founder technically, were you, or the founder? What probably doesn't.
No, I'd be co-founder, but
Yeah,
only the first 18 months or maybe 2 years.
but from a personal perspective, as carrying the can all the way along, and that's a massive weight. You've got this vision and you've got this energy, but that's you. How did you? Where did you go for support or for other conversations? I can imagine a lot of them were that you were having day to day were about let's get this business to X gazillion dollars, but then it's got to have some other channels of communication that because you're carrying a lot of weight, a lot of load.
Yeah. Yeah. Of various, so some of the guys that I was referring to in the advisory board were extremely supportive
Okay.
and
Yeah.
good sounding board.
At a personal level. Yeah.
On one level,
Yeah.
yes. Other friends, my partner is a smart person and very helpful. So I've been fortunate with my partnerships with my former wife and my partner now.
Yeah.
To be supported, and I think that's a fundamental thing for people setting out to do most things in life. Actually,
Yeah.
And even my son, when he was about 18, which was about that stage, he weighed in and started helping out in his own way, which was actually very effective because he loves writing, and he started sending handwritten letters out to prospects.
I love that.
Knocked them out, and some pretty high-profile people go like, "Wow, we'll take a meeting with these guys. They're writing a letter." Help came from various sources, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Can I?
Yeah. No, please.
Can we take a natural gap here for a second?
Sure can.
An edit gap?
Yeah. Yeah. No problem.
Thanks, mate.
All right. So, Phil, I wanted to ask you about you brought up the subject of exit planning and as a partially like a North Star or a structure for aiming at at the end of all of what you put into the business. But you had along the way you've brought in capital, which you need to do. Did that add to, or did that complicate whatever your the exit planning must have been starting to form in your head, or at least some of the planning starting to be thought about. But did having multiple shareholders, or did that make it more complex?
Yes, it has to, because you've got agreements and reporting obligations and all sorts of things that add another layer of activity. By and large, we've been quite fortunate with our shareholders have given us a fairly, I don't know, they're not that demanding, and they've been patient, and I, I respect them for that. But there's no question they add another layer of complexity.
Yeah. Oh, look, I've seen it. There's
Evolution and all the rest of it. The practicality of how does that work?
yeah. And look, it's legal. Then it's about ensuring everyone's on the same boat,
Yep.
same train, which can easily that can cracks can show. But yeah, the reality is you need the capital to grow, and yeah, it can be like it's something that a high growth business does not want to knock back capital to grow, but it's easy to say you've got to pick the right capital, but it's a lot harder to put into
Hmm.
practice. So I wanted to shift to the decision at some point to become a B Corp,
Mhm.
a certified B Corp. Can you just briefly talk about what a certified B Corp is, and why that was uh, a good move for eWater?
Um, it's a B Corp. Essentially, I think B Corp is B's an acronym for benefit corporation, which is essentially there for the benefit of the community at large, rather than just the benefit of shareholders. So not all behaviours go back to a dividend and to making shareholders shares grow. It's about how the business operates within a society, within a community, within the world, with respect to a whole bunch of not direct financial drivers. So, and B Corp, to become a B Corporation requires some pretty stern auditing to be done on your business in terms of components like product sourcing, labour used in that product sourcing, environmental aspects, philanthropic activities, that sort of thing. Once that, if you reach that or get through that auditing process, then you can become an established B Corporation. Very difficult for large companies to do it because it requires such an intense kind of amount of restructuring in most cases to be able to fit the requirement. B Corp for us means a couple of things, I think. Those who know what a B Corporation is, it's a designation that's generally respected as a company that operates within an ethical framework that is recognised. There's a certain, I guess, a sort of wink and a nod to other B corporations as a community sense of community
Yeah,
around.
yeah,
And if you see a company with offering a particular service and they're B Corp accredited, and there's another company offering a service very similar, they're not B Corp, then our tendency will always be to lean in toward the B Corp. I don't think it's necessarily meant for us as a business that people have flocked to the door because we're a B corporation, but we proudly talk of it, and people have asked us for more information about it, and it's generally well regarded as something that suggests that we're a decent company, run within good
set of
standards.
guidelines.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Okay. So did it? So it didn't really help open a lot more doors. It was more, perhaps, maybe more of an internal thing. This is more an endorsement or a reflection of how we like to do things. You're
Yeah, I think it was is a very comfortable partner with the other pillars of our business around being a again, we're essentially a sustainable alternative to chemicals. We're a sustainable business. We'd like to think we're the most sustainable hygiene solution available.
Yeah.
And we so sustainability leads to circular economy and ways of structuring your business and behaving that the B Corp fits within very nicely. We're also organic certified, so none of these things are dead simple. You've got to go through quite a process. You've got to prove your credentials to get there, and that's the way it should be. Because
So
once you
what's
get
the value of those brands, if you like, or those certifications? If they it gets easy, it cheapens it all for everybody.
yeah, definitely. Well, it loses credibility. Yeah. But yeah, so we're happily B Corp. We intend to remain one, and we like the company of B Corps.
Yeah. All right. We're now 2025. What does eWater look like today? And then I'd really like to close the loop on. We opened up the exit planning can of worms, but I'd love to explore that a little bit more after you, if you could give us a bit of an overview of where you're at today.
Yeah, we're in a position where the product we still have this need for greater levels of awareness that we're here. We keep having very similar feedback to what we may have had 5 years ago, which is, oh wow, when people hear the product for the first time, say, why haven't I heard of that before? And why isn't it everywhere? So the challenge have at the moment is to reduce the amount of people that say that, and that's an awareness exercise. It's a promotional exercise. It's a people. It's an activity.
Education.
Exactly. It's around marketing communications and about
Mm,
getting it out there and being in the conversation at the right time when people are making decisions like this. And furnishing them with all of the information possible and the accreditations and whatever it may be that makes their life easier,
yeah.
and reduces their risk in many cases because people see that their role in managing hygiene issues or sanitation or whatever as managing risk, which it is. You've got to be able to verify that you actually get rid of the problem that's designed to be got rid of. So I think in 2025, the company needs a shot of people and promotion and activity, having arrived at a point now where we're fully national, got a service contractor that services our national needs. We have a recurring business base with very high caliber clients. So it's at that point that I think we've arrived at the start, to be honest with you, Michael. I think 2025 is the start of all that work that's come up to now. And yeah, that's the future.
Yeah. Okay. How many's in the team? If you include everybody, or the expanded workforce that you use.
Well, I think that would be harder. So I would say if you combine most of the work that we do is outsourced. So if you combine
Yeah.
the sales contractor, service contractor with our finance, with our bookkeeping, with et cetera, would be probably people accessing the product and working in different ways for a product. Well, I don't actually know, but it'd probably be over 60, 80
Yeah.
people,
But
something
but
like
you've
that.
you've that's yeah, and but you've really you took on a lot early days of sales and marketing, and then some product development, and so you don't want to lay yourself with all these things that aren't about core business, which in your case I guess is getting more sales and
Yeah.
or looking after your existing customers. And yeah, it's a very decent sized small business. So um, let's and I do like this uh, focus on what you really have to do, what you're really good at, and what you can do by using subcontractors and outsourcers. It makes a whole lot of sense. Time's never been more right to do all that if you want to keep competitive. So let's go back to the exit planning thing and talk about. I mean, if here you are, like 20 odd years, you're still fighting the fight, and it's wonderful to hear that. You're still, big. I know from our other interactions how committed you are to what you do, and I've met some of the team, and some, and we're in an environment where all the things you talked about, circular economy, reuse, recycle, domination by big unloving corporates. There's been too many cases to mention of some of the abhorrent behaviour. So where to from here, and how does for you personally, but also do you feel like now you've got a legacy in terms of this business to keep to preserve somehow?
Yeah. Legacy. It's interesting. Not the first time that's been asked recently. I'm not sure if legacy is the word. I think there's a business that's been created, and it's a bit like when I answered the question previously, a little like your own children. You do the best you can till they get to a certain age. And I don't want to be glib about it, but at a certain point in time, you've got to let go. My son's living in Amsterdam, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I was in New York. They've gone. They're doing their own thing. They haven't really gone, but they've gone. Now the business, I don't see it as a legacy business in the sense that I've left this thing behind that's precious and special. That's something better look after, or I'll get all grumpy. No, it's not like that at all. I think I welcome someone new coming in and taking it in the direction that they want to take it.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would be around to help that happen if someone chose to seek my advice or to think I could make a contribution, but that would not be an essential thing, and I wouldn't feel poorly if they didn't.
Yeah. So it's a pragmatic. How many years have you put into it yourself? It's got to be 20 odd. 17.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then this, I mean, the term exit planning, which I talk to a lot of owners about, it's there is the business thing. Sometimes owners think about it as a lot of them think about it as their baby, but it's time to let the kids off, or I want to keep them at home, but it's I think the thing that good reflection on this stuff brings out is what you personally want to do next. And you can throw yourself at something, and it can be all consuming, but there's certainly a time to do something new and different, and that's the pragmatism that you can apply to something like this, and it's healthy to ask yourself the question. It's unhealthy to just keep going because you haven't thought about what's over the other side, or because you're there isn't a clear. You haven't taken time to think about it. It's time gets away. So where do you see that for you if you were to be without eWater? What would your next adventure be? Because I reckon you've got the DNA to do something.
Yeah, I don't have I think I've got the energy, but I don't know what that is exactly. It'd be what I learned before starting eWater, and I was coming out of the Clemenger days, is that you've got your head and your heart, and there's a bit of contradiction there, by the way, too, because I was busily selling products in the mass market. I didn't happen to sell chemicals, but that was because there wasn't a chemical client perhaps at the time. So there's a head and heart exercise, and I think that what I learned at that point was that I needed for me to be able to approach something and give it what you need to give it to be a success or have a chance of success is you have to have energy and passion for what you're doing. Well, I do anyway. So I'm not quite sure what the next thing is, but the next thing is to relax. Or when I say relax, it's just to purge, do a bit of purging and
Yeah.
just, see where that lands. But there are many things in this world that can use an extra pair of hands or a mind or whatever. So
Yeah, well, you've benefited from some great advisors along the way. You've worked in not-for-profits, you've worked in the commercial sector, so there's there'll be something there that'll pop up. Where do you see eWater though as a separate entity in the next 15, 20 years? Can you or 5 years?
um, well, that's a good question. Having just made mention of the exit plan, somebody else's exit plan, really. But I would like to think that the product itself of electrolyzed water representing a relatively benign solution to a problem that's previously been dealt with by dangerous chemicals, and they are, by the way. The research is increasingly highlighting the dangers of household chemicals and cleaning
Yeah,
chemicals.
yeah,
I'd like to see that we've contributed to some sort of change, a broad-based change in society and government regulations, in clear communications to people, so that they are aware that there's an option. They don't have to
yeah,
reach for the bleach.
yeah.
you know,
Reach for the bleach. Yeah,
I
yeah,
hadn't ever read. That's a new one, by the way. Reach for the bleach, but it seems to work. Yeah.
yeah,
So I'd like to see
yeah,
that we've had something to do with a movement that keeps on building momentum,
yeah.
Michael.
Well, it's outstanding progress, and it's now national, and it's now ready. It feels like to me. So,
Yeah.
just along I just want to finish with a couple of questions. Your biggest lessons, and for other founders who are 20 years back, or that are 2 years into theirs, their biggest advice. You already said have an exit in mind, but something else there that you would tell Phil 20 years back.
Um, Well, I think you have to have, if you're going to do what we tried to do, which is build a new market with a new product as well, by the way. We weren't introducing a competitor to an existing category, um, a direct competitor. We weren't another bucket of chemicals that have got a slightly different spin on them. If you're going to set up something new, you need to have a strong a provider, a distributor, or a contract, an agreement that locks them down, locks you down, if necessary, to good commercial terms. I think you need to uh, just respect your clients. I can't stress that enough. I think that we wouldn't have got past day one if it wasn't for our clients. That very first site I talked about, they opened up their doors and let other people come through to see what they were doing with eWater, and and
It's
and, and helped us to actually get started.
Yeah, they're
With the
believers. Mm,
Yeah, exactly, and
mm,
that's the case to this day.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, we have enormous um, respect for our clients that have been so good like that and referring our business, etc. So
yeah,
that's advice to someone starting for fresh. Just know who's been helping you and make sure you remember them.
yeah.
I think
I
that's important.
Yeah, I have read the testimonials of your clients and yeah, they are true believers, and it makes a whole lot of sense to me. So but you've taken them with you, and uh, um, I'll finish with this one, Phil. The if you happen to end up as the federal minister for small business in Australia, and
Uh,
and you we all want to ensure that we have a more vibrant, resilient SME economy. What would your top priorities be from day one when you put your foot under the desk in Canberra?
wow. That requires some serious projection, doesn't it?
Yeah, you
um,
never.
the, yeah, I small business. Well, from my point of view, as eWater, we operate in a particular environment where there's a lot of regulation. So we have had to deal with and do every day deal with environmental health officers that go around sites checking them out for their food safety standards, etc. We deal with the TGA and what have you. So there's a fair bit of bureaucracy involved, and a lot of it's duplicated. A lot of it doesn't make sense. Like each local government seems to run their own thing very often, and indeed individuals within each local government can be different. So it means therefore there's a lot of duplication, a lot of repetition, a lot of unnecessary time spent. So, and I've heard it time and time again, and I don't want to be another one carrying that cliche, but it is true. There's too much red tape.
Yeah, okay.
Unnecessary duplication, I call it. And
Yeah, which is different to, well, yeah, it's layers of red tape, but yeah, alignment and particularly tackling, which you're tackling a global issue here.
yes, yes. Which would take me to the next thing I'd advise you to do is have a vision. You're not just the small business person. You're part of a government that's supposed to have a vision, of which that vision, in a business sense, is going to be in part executed by small business. So it's got to come out of the one big think tank sort of thing, and the small business minister needs to advocate for policy and activity that encourages small business to participate in whatever way that might be, but by getting rid of some of these blockages or making it easier or providing incentives. I think that there's another issue too with government that we notice is this disconnect between what they're saying and what they're doing, and that's party apolitical, if you like. There's lots of talk about sustainability, but then when you sit in front of a government organisation, it's oftentimes weasel words, and their actions don't match their statements. So a bit more alignment with the reality of what's going on, and a bit more truth. I was told, as a matter of interest here, Michael, that we won the Premier Sustainability Award in 2017. As the most innovative product, and the grand prize in 2017 in Victoria. We were told at the time that award was presented by a minister that in the 13 years preceding, since the Sustainability Awards were first launched, not one Premier has attended one Premier Sustainability Awards function, which sort of, I know they're busy, and I know they've got representatives, but it's sort of the talk I'm saying here is that there's got to be a connection between sustainability in words and sustainability in government action. Real action, not nice documents and words.
Yeah, very good, Phil. Well, excuse me, Phil. That's been a ripping chat. Thank you so much. It's an excellent story. I wish you well. I wish eWater the best for whatever it is the next stage of its evolution. So if somebody wanted to reach out and talk to you, happy to do that. And where's the easiest place for them to get you?
Of course, same place as normal, I guess. It's my email address. Do you want me to give?
No, just you're happy for people to contact you if they want to talk about, if they're a potential customer or, they're someone interested in what the eWater story is all about. And we'll put that in the notes. But just the website would be good to shout out, and then see if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm keen to have discussions with the right sort of interested parties.
Yeah. So is it eWater Systems? No, eWater.com.au. Is that
eWatersystems.com?
eWater System. Yeah. Okay.
eWatersystems.com.
Global. It's global, Phil.
Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Future of clean.
Future of clean. That is a t-shirt right there, Phil.
Yeah.
If you
I thank you very much for your time. It's been interesting from this side too, challenging me to think a bit more about what we do, and I really appreciate your time and your support and the way you go about this interview. Thanks, Michael.
Thanks, Phil. Been great.
Okay, cheers, mate.